Welcome back to Silent Conspiracy. Tonight we descend into one of Delhi's most enigmatic monuments, a place where ancient architecture meets urban legend, where a 60-meter stepwell that once provided life-giving water became infamous as a portal to death. Picture this, a dimly lit evening in Delhi. Somewhere between 2005 and 2007, a man stands at the top of Agrasen Ki Baoli, staring down at the 108 stone steps descending into darkness. At the bottom, barely visible in the fading light, sits a pool of black water, still silent and somehow deeply mesmerizing. He takes one step down, then another. Something about the water calls to him, a pull he can't explain, can't resist. By the time security guards notice him, he's at step 90, walking steadily toward the water with glazed eyes. He reaches the water and jumps. This is Agrasen Ki Baoli, Delhi's haunted stepwell, where legend claims the black water at the bottom possessed hypnotic powers that compelled people to suicide. Tonight, we explore whether this 14th century architectural marvel truly harbors supernatural forces, or whether mass psychology, urban myth, and the power of suggestion created a legend more powerful than any ghost. Agrasen Ki Baoli, also known as Agrasen Ki Baoli, stands in modern Delhi near Connaught Place, Haley Road. The contrast is jarring. Step through an unassuming gateway from a busy street, and suddenly you're confronted with a 60-meter-long, 50-meter-wide stepwell plunging 4 levels into the earth. The structure consists of 108 stone steps descending in symmetrical precision toward what was once a water reservoir at the bottom. 3 levels of arched corridors line either side of the descending staircase, creating a vertiginous perspective that disorients visitors accustomed to looking up at buildings rather than down into the earth. Stepwells, called Baolis in Hindi, were ingenious water management systems developed in India over 2,000 years ago. They served multiple functions, collecting and storing rainwater during monsoons, providing year-round water access even as groundwater levels dropped seasonally, and offering cool refuge from scorching Indian summers. The stepped design allowed people to descend to whatever water level existed, making water accessible even during severe droughts. There are no inscriptions, no construction records, no definitive historical documentation establishing who built it or when. This absence of evidence has allowed legends to flourish. The most popular legend claims Maharaja Agrasen, a legendary king from the Mahabharata era, approximately 3000 to 5000 BCE, originally constructed the stepwell. If true, this would make Agrasen Ki Baoli potentially the oldest stepwell in the world. However, historians are deeply skeptical. The architecture itself contradicts the Mahabharata theory. The red sandstone sourced from Rajasthan, the arched gateways characteristic of Islamic architecture, and the presence of a mosque within the complex all point to construction or major reconstruction during the 14th century under either the Tughlaq or Lodi dynasties of the Delhi Sultanate. Most historians believe the structure was built or rebuilt by the wealthy Agrasen community merchants who claimed descent from King Agrasen's sometime between the 12th and 14th centuries. Poet Vibhuti Sridhar mentioned a Baoli in his work, Pasana Hokadu, which some scholars believe refers to Agrasen Ki Baoli, providing the earliest literary evidence of its existence. For centuries, Agrasen Ki Baoli functioned as intended a vital water source and popular gathering place. During Delhi's brutal summers, when temperatures soar above 45 degrees Celsius, the stepwell's depths provided natural cooling. Women would descend the steps to collect water, wash clothes, and socialize away from the oppressive heat. The Baoli also served as a place where people learned to swim, children played, and communities gathered during festivals. A famous 1976 photograph by renowned photographer Raghu Rai shows a young boy diving from the steps into the water, a snapshot of the stepwell's vibrant past. But as Delhi modernized, piped water replaced Baolis. Rainwater harvesting systems fell into disrepair. By the 1990s, the water had turned black from accumulated waste, pigeon droppings, and stagnant decay. This is where history blurs into legend. Multiple sources claim that as the water blackened, something changed. People began reporting an inexplicable attraction to the dark pool at the bottom. The legend states that the black water possessed hypnotic properties, Visitors, particularly those already struggling with depression or life problems, would descend the 108 steps, reach the bottom, and feel an overwhelming compulsion to jump into the water. According to local folklore, every time someone committed suicide, the water level would mysteriously rise, as if the well was drinking their souls and growing stronger. The Baoli allegedly claimed multiple lives over several years, though exact numbers vary wildly depending on the source. What made these suicides particularly disturbing was witnesses' descriptions of victims' behavior. They would walk down the steps slowly, almost in a trance, ignoring anyone who called out to them. Their eyes appeared glazed, unfocused. They seemed unaware of their surroundings, responding only to some invisible pull from the water below. The most documented and most puzzling incident occurred in 2007. By this time, the Baoli had been largely drained as part of heritage restoration efforts. The water level was extremely shallow. Reports indicate only 5 feet deep at most. A man descended the steps and jumped into the nearly dry well. He died not from drowning impossible in such shallow water, but from impact injuries sustained when hitting the stone bottom. The incident was officially recorded as suicide. This death, occurring when the Baoli was essentially dry, proved particularly baffling. If the hypnotic power was attributed to the black water, why would someone jump when barely any water remained? Following this 2007 death, authorities implemented strict security measures. The Baoli now closes at 5:30 p.m. daily, before sunset. No one is permitted inside after dark. Security guards patrol constantly. Visitors are warned not to descend below step 72, stay where you can still see the sky. Beyond the suicide legends, visitors report numerous paranormal experiences at Agrasen Key Baoli. Disembodied whispers. The Stepwell's unique acoustics create strange echo effects. Even soft whispers can be heard clearly across distances. Some believe this was deliberately engineered to allow communication between levels. Others claim the whispers are voices of the dead. Temperature anomalies. Visitors report sudden cold spots despite the Baoli being exposed to open air. These chills often occur at specific depths around steps 80 to 90, where the compulsion to descend allegedly becomes strongest. The feeling of being watched. Multiple accounts describe an oppressive sensation of unseen eyes tracking your movement as you descend. The feeling intensifies the deeper you go. Suicidal ideation. Several visitors claim that upon reaching certain depths, they experienced sudden, intrusive thoughts about jumping even, if they had no prior depression or suicidal tendencies. These thoughts vanished immediately upon ascending back up the steps. The pigeons. Locals note that hundreds of pigeons perpetually circle and nest in the Baoli, never leaving the area. Some interpret this as evidence of supernatural forces trapping their spirits, much like human souls allegedly trapped in the water. Skeptics offer numerous rational explanations for Agrasen Key Baoli's haunted reputation. Architectural psychology. The vertiginous design looking down into darkness rather than up at light creates natural disorientation and anxiety. The human brain evolved to fear falling, triggers distress responses when confronted with such descents. Acoustic illusions. The Stepwell's symmetrical architecture and stone surfaces create unusual acoustic properties. Sounds bounce and echo in unexpected ways, creating the impression of whispers or voices where none exist. Confirmation bias. Once a place gains a haunted reputation, visitors arrive expecting paranormal experiences and interpret ordinary sensations through that lens. A natural chill from descending into shade becomes a ghost, echoes become spirits, and anxiety becomes evil presence. Urban legend amplification. Delhi has over 30 historical balis, yet only Agrasen Key Baoli is considered haunted. Why? Because Bollywood films like PK, Sultan, and Mom used it as a spooky filming location, amplifying its eerie reputation. The black water myth. The water turned black from pollution, pigeon droppings, and lack of circulation, not supernatural forces. Its hypnotic quality was likely psychological projection onto a visually striking environmental hazard. Pre-existing mental health issues. People who jump from heights or into water bodies often suffer from depression or other mental health conditions. The Baoli may have simply been a location chosen by individuals already determined to end their lives, not a place that caused the impulse. India has a complex relationship with stepwells and water bodies as sites of death. Hindu religious traditions include water burial practices, and many sacred rivers and tanks are associated with death rituals. This cultural backdrop may make Indians more receptive to legends about water bodies having supernatural properties. Additionally, India's mental health crisis with suicide rates particularly high among young adults means vulnerable individuals seek out isolated locations. A deserted historical monument provides privacy, which may explain why several people chose this location. Today, Agrasen Baoli is a popular tourist destination and Instagram hotspot. On any given afternoon, hundreds of visitors, mostly young couples and photography enthusiasts, crowd the steps. The haunted reputation has paradoxically made it trendy. Heritage conservation efforts have stabilized the structure. The Archaeological Survey of India maintains the site. Armed with knowledge of its history and legends, tourists descend the steps, take selfies at the bottom, and leave unharmed. The water that allegedly hypnotized people has been drained permanently. The well shaft at the bottom remains dry. Without the black water, the primary element of the haunting legend no longer exists. Physically, yet the stories persist. Did Agrasen Baoli's water truly possess some hypnotic or supernatural property that compelled people to suicide? Or did the combination of architectural psychology, mental health crises, and the power of urban legend create a self-perpetuating myth? The 2007 suicide occurring when the well was nearly dry suggests the legend itself became more powerful than any actual property of the water. People jumped not because the water called to them, but because they believed it would. Yet this explanation raises its own troubling question. If belief alone can drive people to suicide, is the distinction between real and psychological haunting meaningful? Stories exaggerated urban myths? And what does our fascination with haunted places reveal about humanity's need to find supernatural explanations for tragedy? Share your thoughts in the comments below.